Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's morning briefing. Argentina's national soccer club has just canceled its friendly match with Israel this weekend, buckling under what appears to be intense international pressure as well as security concerns. That means superstar Lionel Messi won't be coming to Israel after all, and not even Prime Minister Netanyahu himself was apparently able to salvage the game. Argentina's national team was originally set to play this friendly warm-up match against Israel's team in Haifa before heading out to compete in the 2018 World Cup. But it wasn't until the Israeli government moved the match to Jerusalem that the situation became somewhat messy. Palestinians immediately accused Israeli leaders of politicizing the game by moving it to Jerusalem and announced that they'd burn Messi jerseys if the game went ahead. On top of this, it soon emerged that Culture and Sports Minister Miri Regev made a cash deal with the government to fund the move to Jerusalem in exchange for photo ops with Messi on the field. This is in addition to allegations that Regev's ministry actually only put up 10,000 game tickets for sale to the public out of 30,000, the rest being reserved for various government entities, NGOs, and corporate sponsors. For Palestinians, this cancellation is a massive win, perhaps one of the biggest wins for BDS supporters. But Palestinian leaders say they had no problem with the game when it was scheduled in Haifa, where Israeli and Arab soccer fans routinely gather. Despite this, Messi and his family do say they received death threats against playing the game at all. But at the end of the day, Israelis are mostly devastated to see the match fall apart. Prime Minister Netanyahu called Argentina's president to try and intercede, but President Macron told him that the ball was no longer on his side of the field. Prime Minister Netanyahu continues his European tour today after meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris. Netanyahu is on a mission to rally European leaders to follow President Trump's example and drop the JCPOA nuclear deal with Iran. Europe has reaffirmed that they are committed to staying in the deal, though. At best, Netanyahu may hope to at least sway Europe on certain deal points, such as stipulations on ballistic missiles. There may be no bigger public proponent of the deal right now than President Macron. Netanyahu arrived in Paris yesterday for his meeting, flanked by protesters on the Champs-Élysées. Though Macron concedes that Iran's nuclear program is a clear and volatile threat, he argues that the current deal, while not perfect, is the only thing working to delay Iran's nuclear capabilities. But for Prime Minister Netanyahu, Macron's position may be moot. Netanyahu argues that the new path of economic sanctions taken by the Trump administration will cause a financial meltdown for the regime and ultimately topple Iranian leadership. Many believe this is the true endgame Israel is seeking and why Israel has lobbied against the deal from the beginning. Other analysts predict that Israel may hope the deal collapses, forcing Iran to continue its nuclear program and giving Israel the go-ahead to launch a preemptive war. French President Macron had more than Iran to speak about with Prime Minister Netanyahu Tuesday, as he also said the United States' embassy move to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv was the cause of violence in Gaza last month. Speaking from a press conference with Netanyahu, he said that if moving the embassy caused death, then it's not a celebration. And many countries share Macron's critical view of President Trump's decision to move the embassy in May, saying at the very least it didn't promote peace. Supporters of the move, however, in Israel and the United States especially, say Gaza terrorists are simply using the embassy move as an excuse for attacks that they'd have launched either way. Further, Israel has stated that actions taken at the border with Gaza during Hamas's 2-month-long protest were to prevent further damages to the fence, infiltrations, and terror attacks. Hamas, an internationally recognized terror organization, essentially corroborated this claim by identifying over half of those killed at the protests as members of their group. Still, many other civilians were killed or injured during the demonstrations, and many world powers have expressed desires to calm tensions and reduce the use of alleged excessive force. In fact, though Netanyahu's European Union tour was primarily to promote his agenda on Iran and Syria, the conversation has often turned to the latest Gaza crisis. In an increasingly popular and effective trend, Palestinians from Gaza are now regularly flying homemade kites over the border, dropping firebombs on Israeli soil. Combined with the summer heat, these kite attacks have erupted into massive flames that have engulfed over 2,000 acres of Israeli fields. The government estimates that some $2.5 million worth of agriculture has been burned to the ground. Firefighters near the Gaza border have been working overtime lately to calm the deadly flames. And though the fires have not claimed any casualties so far, this is clearly no laughing matter. This problem now stands as one of the biggest on-the-ground threats to Israel's national security. For Palestinians, this homemade workaround is a clever alternative to Israel's use of deadly force against rioters on the Gaza border. A homemade terror attack of sorts that only costs a few dollars and cents. But Israeli leaders are quickly understanding the full scale of this threat. Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan believes IDF snipers should actually be able to shoot kite flyers on sight. Other government leaders are hoping civilian drone flyers may be a more peaceful way to cut the strings of violence, but speculate that deadly force may indeed be the final line of defense. The Victorian Council of Social Service, or VCOSS, has just rescinded its invitation to Womens March CoPresident TAMIKA Mallory over recent remarks she made about Israel. She was originally set to be a keynote speaker, but a spokesperson from the VCOSS said the service is, quote, concerned both by comments Ms. Mallory made in recent days regarding Israel-Palestinian affairs and the capacity for these remarks to overshadow the Good Life Summit. The Good Life Summit is about setting a positive vision for a fair and just Victoria. We don't want anything to detract from that vision, end quote. The remarks VCOSS is referring to, among others, were made on social media in support for Nation of Islam leader and infamous anti-Semite Louis Farrakhan. Mallory has also defended Farrakhan on social media, attended a recent speech of his, and shared photos with him. Then just this past Friday, on a video address about Israel, she likened Israel's founding to a human rights crime. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.